Hey guys, Mario here, welcome back to another video, and yesterday was the Apple event update, so let's quickly go over everything that's new so you're up to date. So let's first go over the 15 Pro, since I know that a lot of you are here just for those phones and don't care about all of the other stuff. A lot of the leaks that I mentioned in my previous video and a lot of people have been talking about them were actually right. The iPhone 15 Pro got titanium sides that were previously stainless steel, and my 14 Pro are now way more durable and way lighter than before. So I think there's about a 20-gram difference between the 14 Pro and the 15 Pro, which doesn't sound like much, but then again, it's like 10% of the overall weight of the phone. Another benefit of this change is that the sides are now matte instead of glossy. Apple again decreased the size of the bezels, this time by shrinking the sides of the phone inward instead of making the screen larger. And the 15 Pro and Pro Max will now come in black, white, blue, and kind of like a natural titanium color. Outside of the outside change of the titanium, the 15 Pro also got an internal rework where components are better arranged, and also they made the back plate way easier to replace, which is definitely a step in the right direction. As we predicted with the leaks, the mute switch is now gone and is replaced with this action button. So you can basically program it to do one of 9 functions, and one of them is the shortcuts app, which means that you can do pretty much anything you want with the action button. Also, I just think the coolest thing about this action button is the animation it uses to switch through the different functions. Okay, next up we've got an upgrade that most people are probably going to overlook. It's the new chip, the A17 Pro. But now I think Apple's strategy is going to be to next year when we upgrade to the A18 Pro, that it's going to be the name for the chips in the Pro phones, and the regular 16 series is going to get a regular A18, so they can have the same number and it will be thus less confusing to people overall. So what does this A17 chip actually bring you? Well, it's the first chip ever in a smartphone with a 3nm architecture. This might not sound like a big jump from the previous years where it was a 4nm architecture, but it's way more compact that you can imagine. And also, if you don't care about this whole like nanometer stuff, it still brings you like 10% faster performance, better efficiency cores, and also a faster neural engine, which is going to make autocorrect better and also run Siri locally on your phone. Then we have the most hype change that happened over the last few years, which is the iPhone switch to USB-C. And to be honest, it's just the switch of a port. It's nothing special. Apple needed to do this because of some EU rules. So it's not really that amazing, but it helps, especially if you're using an iPhone and a Windows PC. So transfer speeds are getting much faster, but only on the 15 Pros, because on the 15 Pros you have a transfer speed of USB 3.0, which is 10 gigabits per second. The previous speed was 480 megabits per second. But as always with Apple, there's a little catch. You are not getting these speeds with the default cable that's packaged in the box. Quite frankly, I understand this. Most people don't really use their cables on their iPhones, only for like charging. And the tech is probably pretty expensive to reach these speeds. So they are going to only do these speeds with an extra cable that you have to buy separate. But the one thing that I was expecting from USB-C to be way better at than Lightning was fast charging. But Apple didn't mention this at all. Actually, the charging is the exact same as last year. So I think the 16 series next year is maybe going to improve on that. But even to speculate a little bit more, I think Apple is just going to go wireless without an actual port before they even introduce some sort of fast charging. So people are used to the slow charging from the cable, and when they switch over to the wireless charging, they won't be surprised, oh, this is way slower than before. Then there was quite a big section of the presentation all about gaming on the iPhone, but to be honest with you, all I have to say about that is just that a lot of games are coming to the iPhone, and I didn't really pay attention to most of that because, to be honest, I don't really game on my phone and I don't know anyone who actually does. But Assassin's Creed is now on the iPhone, which is pretty cool. Also, they're bringing ray tracing to the iPhone. I would really like to know, like, how many people will actually use this? Okay, next up, we've got a part of the event that gets mentioned every year, and every year is just bigger and bigger in time increments, but this year it was kind of short, and it's camera improvements. The sensor that was introduced last year, the 48 megapixel one, got a larger sensor again, which improves image quality overall. A really welcome feature that will finally fix the problem problem that has haunted iPhones for years now. It's a little nanoscale coating on top of the cameras that will reduce lens flare. And I'm really keen to see the differences between the 14 Pro and the 15 Pros, if it's really noticeable. Then in the settings, you will also have a new option for the regular sensor to get a default focal length. You can choose between 24, 28, and 35 millimeters. If you don't know what these millimeter numbers, focal lengths even mean, it's basically the zoom level of the camera that you're shooting a subject, and those three are especially useful for portrait photography. Then there's a change that I don't really like, but then again I kind of understand, is that only the 15 Pro Max will be getting the new telephoto camera, which will be able to zoom all the way up to 5x with optical zoom. They achieved this by stacking these little mirrors into the camera itself, so it can get all the way up to 120mm focal length, which is especially good for portraits that are really far away, or for shooting cars, for example, to make them look really flat. Also, this specific telephoto sensor is going to get a stabilization that will be active in all three directions. This is the first time in the whole smartphone industry, so I'm actually kind of more excited about the stabilization part than the actual zoom part, because with the 5x telephoto, you're giving up the 3x telephoto, which is much better for just portraits. Also, there are two little changes that you won't probably be using, but are nice to have. You can now shoot ProRes in 4K 60 and also shoot spatial video for the new Vision Pro headset. So with the prices, it's pretty simple. In the US, you are going to still pay $999 for the 15 Pro, but the 15 Pro Max is going to start at $1199 with 256 gigs, which isn't that bad because I understand that the 15 Pro Max has like bigger upgrades than the regular 15 Pro, but then again, if you're going to upgrade the storage option, why not drop the price a little bit? Because storage has gotten cheaper and cheaper, and this is definitely one of the areas where Apple makes most of its profits. And that's pretty much it about all of the news that you want to hear about the 15 Pros. With the regular 15s and the Apple Watches that got also announced in the same update, I'm going to keep it really concise, just to save your time, because they didn't really get major updates. Okay, I have to backpedal a little bit. The regular 15 series is actually a pretty good phone, because it got most of the upgrades that last year's 14 Pro got, but without promotion and also without the telephoto camera. It got all of the other stuff that the 14 Pro got last year. So a 2000 nit display, a 48 megapixel camera, and also the A16 chip. And also quite a big visual change that the backside is no longer glossy, but is matte instead, which I really like, because it now looks way better than before in my opinion, because these lighter colors quite honestly look pretty good with the matte textures. And it will be available in blue, pink, yellow, green, and black. And the prices for both of these are staying the same at $799 and $899 for the Plus. Then we have the Series 9 Apple Watch, which basically stays the same as the Series 8, but it has a much better chip with 30% better GPU performance, which will make all of the animation smoother. It also gets a 2000 nit display, which is double of the Series 8, and it can go all the way down to 1 nit. It also has a faster neural engine, which will enable it to do some of the basic Siri commands right on there. And also Siri gets better because it now can access your health data, and when you ask it like how much did I sleep last night, it will be able to answer you. And the colors for the Series 9 will be pink, starlight, silver, midnight, and product red, with the stainless steel versions being still in gold, silver, and graphite. And also the Apple Watch Ultra is basically staying the exact same, with just a small upgrade to the display going all the way up to 3000 nits. It's also getting a new watch face, which I think it's pretty ugly, especially compared to last year's one. And the prices are still staying the same thankfully, with the Series 9 starting at $399 and $499 for the cellular version, and the Apple Watch Ultra costing $799 in the US. Also, there are two little changes that I didn't mention yet, which is that Apple won't be making any new leather accessories from this point onward. They will be replacing these with the new material they call fine woven. And also iCloud got a pretty huge upgrade with the brand new tiers of 6TB and 12TB. Apple hasn't yet released the pricing, but it's expected for the 6TB version to cost $30 per month and the 12TB version to cost $60 per month. Okay, so that's pretty much it for today. I wanted to make this video as quickly as I could to get all of the news to you, and also make it as short as I could to not waste your time. So hopefully you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.